Oh, is it getting written down?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Another live stream and joined by none other than Luke Richardson. This was promised and we delivered. Today's workout, we're going to go 3x3 incline barbell press. It's going to be a whole accessory press day. We'll do 3x3 strict overhead press. We'll do 3x3 behind the neck press. That's going to be mostly for mobility and for the big jerk. Then 3x10 tricep extension, 3x10 overhead tricep, and we'll go 3x10 face pull. For context, I had 3 overhead days in my program, and I felt like it was just hitting my tricep tendons a bit hard. So Laws and I agreed we're going to do one day that's accessory pressing, less explosive, controlled. So this is what we're going to do. It's also not a lifting contest today. I am in prep for the Arnold. Luke is, what? You got Europe's Strongest Man 7 weeks?
Yeah.
So we're at very different points in the year. I'm prepping for the heaviest show. This is not a contest. But I'm sure you guys are very happy to see Luke here and excited to ask some questions.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure. They seem to get more excited the less I'm involved.
Oh.
Which is bullshit.
You're boring now.
Sounds
But Lise, why don't you read them out? See what people have to say while I get things set up.
good. So first question here is for Luke. It's from me. Massive fan of Luke. Was at Britain's Strongest Man and had tickets to Europe's Strongest Man in April. How is he feeling going into that?
Into Europe's Strongest Man? Yeah, good. They've released events now. They're decent events for me, to be honest. I don't think there's many events that I can't do well on now. I'm relatively consistent. It'll be my first Europe's Strongest Man since the one I won in 2020. So I haven't done one for 5 years. So it'd be nice to, obviously I'm going to come back and try and win it. I had some things go wrong at Britain's that I just didn't know about and I didn't account for yet, but I figured out what was wrong. So put them right for Europe's, and then I think it's about 4 or 5 weeks after Europe's we've got World's Strongest Man, which will be my first one again since about 2021. So yeah, I'm excited. It'll be good.
Talk about Britain's and the things that you found out.
Yeah, so I had a load of blood tests done after Britain's. Basically, the training block before I started peaking for Britain's had gone really well, and I was kind of like, oh well, I'm probably in the best shape I've ever been in. And then as soon as I started peaking, it was like I was sleeping like 10 hours a night, and I was eating food to try and recover, and I just didn't feel like I was recovering. And then I got to the comp, and I was like putting my knee sleeves on and stuff, and I was getting ready, warming up for sandbag steeplechase, and I literally felt like I'd already done like 4 events. Like I was just still like so fatigued. But then it came back on my blood test, and like my estrogen was like ridiculously high, and then my thyroid was very low as well. So it's probably them two playing with each other a bit, which probably lends into like just being chronically fatigued, really, I guess.
It's sort of the funny additional behind the scenes bit of strongman of, can you get all of your health markers in the right place to perform optimally? You see, sometimes I find guys who want it too bad often push themselves to a place that, like, not that I'm saying it's the case with you, but it seems to be really common. Guys want it really bad, then they push themselves to this like crazy place where their health prohibits them from competing well, not necessarily their strength or ability.
Yeah, I think with Britain's as well, it was the first comp since my comeback where Birmingham, there was like a few chill out events in there, wasn't there? Like there was arm over arm that was relatively light, and there was bag toss. So obviously when you factor that into a training week, recovery debt wise, it's not massive, is it?
Yeah.
And then the same at Glasgow, there was dumbbell and herc hold, which are quite easy to recover from as well. So I think Britain's was like my first 5 event show where I had to train the 5 events, and all 5 events were like somewhat
kind of hard,
taxing. Yeah.
Could you move the pins down one?
Yeah.
So for anyone on the stream who doesn't know Luke, Luke, he won IPF Worlds. You won it twice?
Once. I won Europeans twice. That
You
was
won Euros twice. Oh, European champion.
Yeah.
So world champion powerlifting, and him and Wide Pavlo, the legend of Wide Pavlo, were like rivals for ages and ages. And then he came over into strongman, absolutely tore it up. It would have been very similar to how I came in, hey?
Well, yeah, like my 5th comp, I was in the World's Strongest Man final.
Yeah.
I think I'd only been doing strongman for about 18 months at that point.
How long had you been doing strongman when you won Europe's Strongest Man?
Like just over a year, I think.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's just mental.
yeah.
It's so cool. And then injuries plagued him, but the mental resilience, he's still plugging away.
Got to keep trying, aren't you?
And still 27. That's the funny thing with you. I mean, you're so young in terms of peak strength, but you've been through so much. I don't know where to place your age.
I'm going to need to move this microphone. Oh, smash it to pieces. That bench is so weird.
Yeah.
Is there any reason for it specifically?
Just ignore it for now. I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Talk about it off camera.
Right.
But I do like it though. What else we got, Leash? Keep firing away.
We have a cardio question here from Factor Stage. Solid cardio after deadlift workout. How do you program the strength type workouts for strength? And running on for cardio. Which cardio is best to keep the strength? And Luke, what do you do for cardio?
Wow.
Big cardio question.
Big cardio question. If you're looking to minimize your downside to performing cardio in terms of the sacrifice of strength, shorter intervals and higher intensities is great. If you do a, say, 20-second sprint, that's not going to have a physiologically different response to a 20-second explosive set of squats, for example. Where there is some interference effect is if you went on like a 5K run every day, you would have a hard time holding on to your strength as your muscle fibers shift from, you can't go from type 1 to type 2, but within type 2, you can shift from fast twitch to slow twitch and vice versa. And so you can shift over to slow twitch if you do too much cardio. That being said, I think way more people are worried about the interference effect and not enough people are worried about being fat and unfit, because being unfit is going to be a dramatic problem for recovery. So those sprints are good for when I'm in like heavy prep, like right now. But if I'm off season, that's when I'll do some longer distance stuff. But I mean, that being said, I'm not afraid to do cardio. Luke and I were off playing basketball yesterday.
Oh, it was horrendous.
with my dad's team, the little girls. Like, even though it's the heaviest time of prep, I'm not afraid to go run around for an hour and be out of breath and have some fun. I think, you certainly need to include it. I think the 1K a day is great. I actually have a free PDF of running for strength athletes, which takes you basically from couch to being able to do, I believe it's a 5K. But anyway, 100% free, moosecoaching.com. If you want to get started into a bit of aerobic training that's not going to interrupt your resistance training too much, go ahead and check that guy out. Oh, thank you.
First next question is from Amelia. Geez, I've been trying not to have for months, and I'm still struggling to get past 5 reps. Do you have any tips? So we just posted that video today.
Yeah, how are you at the ab wheel? We haven't done it
I've
yet.
never done it.
Well, you haven't?
No.
You know what it is?
I've done it on my knees.
Oh, but you've never done it on your toes.
Yeah.
It's like, if anyone sees that video, it's a hernia generator if you don't train yourself into it. Sorry, what was the question? I'm just amped someone's watching it.
She's trying to have over months now, still struggling to get past 5 reps. Do you have any tips?
Tip is pull with your knees as much as with your arms. It's such a load on your lats to do a big pullover like that. Where if you feel like you're pulling your knees to the ab wheel, of course you're not going to move, but that intention tends to get your abs involved more and then tends to take a bit of load off of your shoulders in terms of the actual movement itself. So that's my best tip. But it's a really hard thing for women, generally speaking, because the upper body strength required to essentially do a bodyweight pullover is massive.
I don't think I've ever done so much incline bench in my life. Because I inclined like 2 days before I left for yours,
Right.
and then we're inclined after log, and then I'm inclining now.
This is like if you took a still of this image though, for me, this is like exactly where I do all my pressing from.
In the cheetah position.
The cheetah position.
Yeah.
We have a super tracker from Dalton Mason. Can you do a Nordic curl?
I won't try. Could I? I think I'd be 50-50, but the risk of ripping a hamstring off is that's too high for me to give it a crack. But it'll be fun.
That was actually one of the main things I used in like my proximal hamstring repair rehab. There's one at your gym actually. Do you know the Atlantis assisted Nordic?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like very good.
And can you do a bodyweight one?
Huh?
Can you do a bodyweight Nordic curl?
Probably, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was getting down to the point where I was only using like 20 kilo of assistance for, I think like 5 or 8 reps maybe. So
yeah, right. I forgot my sleeves in the car. That's right. That's right. Not good.
So question here for you, Luke. What happened to Luke at BSM?
yeah, so I kind of touched on it briefly before, but like training had gone well, but I didn't feel good. I think it's quite challenging strongman, really, isn't it? Because you've got to peak so many different physical elements whilst also trying to be healthy enough to show up and be able to actually extract what you've built in the gym necessarily. And I got to the comp, and I don't know if it's just, I didn't feel right the last 4 weeks of the prep. So I was like bullying my way through it, not in a way that I have done in the past where it's been detrimental to my tendon structure. But just in terms of like general fatigue, just was never recovering, like just always felt like absolutely destroyed. And then I got to the comp, and although usually when you deload them for a comp, if you like drop something on the floor in your house and you like pick it up, you're like, oh, that was unusual. Like my back wasn't really tight, or I wasn't in a significant amount of pain. Whereas like even like the night before the comp, I was like in my hotel and I feel like I'd just finished like a deadlift session. It was weird. I think something that I did quite well last year is that me and Laura kind of unconsciously were on holiday before every single comp.
Oh right,
yeah.
It wasn't intentional.
No,
yeah, because I saw that before both of our shows.
Yeah,
that's a really weird choice.
Yeah. So like before Birmingham, I was in Ireland.
Yeah.
And then before Glasgow, I was in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I think for me as well, just with how I am psychologically, I do struggle to switch off. Like I'm a bit of a worrier. You know what I mean? Like I would kind of tend to think about things a lot more. Whereas I think someone like Mitch, I'm not sure you're quite good at switching it off, aren't you?
Yeah, for the most. I think, to be honest, I think I just have so many other things I have to worry about.
True.
Right? Like
Yeah,
it's not as though like, yeah. I think that's why I'm proportionally chilled out about strongman, because if I was stressed about strongman, I'd be that stressed about every other element and I'd be destroyed.
Yeah,
like immediately.
That makes sense.
Delivery. Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, it just didn't line up. But then it's annoying because it's one of them where I feel like I'm in good shape, and if I just literally had like 2 weeks off, I'd probably be like in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's a bit of a shame that just happens before a comp, but I guess it's part part of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is what it is, yeah.
And the question that will never be answered is, if that didn't happen, would you have won? Worst question ever.
Yeah.
Never getting answered. It happened, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. It's going to be hard to give each other any sort of spot here, isn't it?
Yeah, probably. Do you want to try?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just got to be careful with the mirror.
Oh.
Maybe if we-
There we go.
Perfect. All right.
You need to pass out.
I should be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's at a good height.
Got a bit. Ooh.
I think so. Like the videos of Eddie like pumping out 5 plates a side,
Oh, it's insane.
absolutely off the
Yeah.
charts. Yeah. That's okay. It's been like that. I have a bunch of stuff coming from Rogue. I've got a belt squat going in the back of that, and then when I do, I'll rectify that, drill the whole thing into the ground, and then it'll be there permanently. Be much safer. Oh. Yep, got it.
It's amazing, you know, copying your training style, how much you can actually get done in terms of you come in, you think like, oh, this is going to be terrible today. And then before you know it, you're up to like three and a half plates for like a set of three. And you're like, oh, it's not too bad. You know what I mean?
My training style in terms of like not doing a whole bunch of prep work.
No, it's just very efficient. And even like the frequency, like, because obviously I'd always associate lower frequency with someone who's more advanced. But then I think because you do such low volume, it's like, it's almost like I feel better at incline after like a week.
Yeah.
You know, not that it's necessarily the most skillful exercise ever, but
yeah. Fixed leg shape? Oh, shake. So that's called, it's called tremors, and it's like a synchronicity problem. So when you do any sort of lift, you've got your body trying to figure out which muscles to use to perform the movements. And when it gets a bit confused or stressed out, it's like trying to find what motor unit is going to be able to perform this motion. In terms of training it, exposure helps. Or anyone when they go heavy for the first time will shake quite a lot. And as you get more trained and you get stronger, you tend to shake less and less. That being said, like I really don't shake, and Luke shakes quite a bit. Yeah, so it can be a thing that just you can't rectify. But regardless, it's your brain searching for the proper movement pattern to be able to perform that movement. So exposure and reps is the best go. Have you ever shook so hard that it's like thrown you off at like the top of a
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That'd be so annoying if you're strong enough. And you're just
Like annoyingly free. Even on like the back squat, when I started to get heavy, I'd be like taking my brace, and then like I have to like wait for 2 seconds for my body to just like calm down before I like start actually lifting.
Right, okay.
Yeah, terrifying. I hate it. Because it's weird, you feel like so out of control.
Yeah.
Even if you're like you're never gonna, if you stood up with a squat, it's like the likelihood that you're gonna fall over is like hopefully relatively low, but it's just like not a nice feeling.
All right, we got 315 and 50, 365. We got 395. This is getting relatively heavy for me, aka quite heavy. And you'll notice as well, I will not play these games with people who will incline bench, but like be like here. And it's like a 1 degree incline. The goal, if you're a strongman athlete trying to do incline press, is closely mimicking your overhead press position. So like this is a pretty reasonable place to think that standing up, you're going to be here. Okay, that is useful. Anything closer to a bench press is just working you away from what's actually going to result in good strength gains.
Do you want to pass?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Got it.
Go on in. Nice, Mitch. Come on.
Oh, I screwed it. Oh, good.
Oh.
I was going to go again. I just pressed it out in front of me.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I saw it went in front. I didn't know if you wanted to rack or not.
Sorry.
It's like the worst exercise to spot someone on incline.
It's next to impossible. Next to impossible.
Question here for Luke. Why did Luke switch over to strongman? Was he bored of powerlifting?
It was always like my long-term goal because the gym that I first started training at as a powerlifter was Darren Sadler's gym in Borough Bridge, which is like 15-minute. It's like a 15-minute drive away from where I live. And obviously, Darren was a world's strongest man competitor. Everyone who was training there, who I kind of like was inspired by and looked up to as a world's strongest man competitor. So it was like Darren said, "Oh, get your powerlifting, get really strong statically, and then transition over." Which I think, in hindsight, was good. But I think also maybe blending together more like strength isolation stuff whilst I was doing that would be better for someone who's trying to transition from strongman to powerlifting, because I came over with like a ridiculous amount of like total body strength. So I was able to like one motion like 180 kilo Atlas stone after like 2 months.
Yeah.
But then my bicep, I haven't done a curl in like 5 years, because obviously I was training so specifically for powerlifting because I wanted to be the best in the world that I kind of neglected anything that wasn't necessarily needed in a program.
Yeah,
so
yeah, of course.
That's the only thing I do. I think if you're a powerlifter training for strongman, you generically probably want to train like a bit more of a power builder, don't you? If you're building a base,
yeah,
I think that would be slightly better.
Do you look back on your powerlifting training and wish you would have done some more of that? Like your accessory work?
I did do a lot of accessory stuff. It was just so specific. So like my bench accessories would be bench variations, and my upper back work would be bent over rows. Yeah, like that'd be it. So there'd be nothing.
Fair enough. Do you need footage from CC2s? No, it's just for monster. Overall. Oh, can I get some training shots here? Okay. Do you want to go up and grab my Richard after grab my red meat? That'd be fine. Yeah. Do you want this?
Yeah.
With a barbell static, you are significantly better than me.
Is that on film?
Yeah. Yeah. Like your exposure in this stuff, it's just so second nature to you. For me, like there's like an awkwardness to being able to do it. Whenever I can't do like a triple extension explosive something, it becomes really hard for me.
Well, I mean, as a strongman, I'd rather be you. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's like one of them things. We're never really tested on stuff. Like
no,
this.
not like this.
And then there'd be also people in strongman who are a lot stronger than me.
Yes.
Like people like Evan, for example, would be
and
like incline bench,
or like Hixie.
Yeah, he's a monster. Yeah, an absolute monster. Yeah. On the pressing stuff, anyway. Maybe I think I could keep up with like Hixie on like a squat. I think.
You think so?
Yeah. Although Hixie, because he'll watch this probably. Yeah. No, I've said it. I think it'd be decent. I know. But what did Hixie squat in wraps? Hixie would probably squat 1,000 pounds in wraps.
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Guarantee it.
Yeah.
Something tells me Hixie would be closer to 1,000 if he peaked, 500 if he peaked in wraps.
You think?
Yeah.
I think when he did big dogs, he did like a 440 pretty easily.
Right.
But that was funny, that stage of like Hixie's career, because he just went full powerlifting. He was like 170 kilos, couldn't walk like anywhere. Yeah. And then he did Europe's Strongest Man like a year later and he was still absolutely just
I think strongman's the only sport where you can like be competitive the whole time and have multiple body transformations during that time. I'll just see how this feels. Right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, got it. Come on. Drive.
I like slipped down the bench and then I went cheating.
2.5. Strong.
It's just that mid-range on incline, isn't it?
Yeah. Always a mid-range. Let's take it out. I don't need to go proper max. I got one more.
That's like a pretty high incline as well. It feels it anyway.
Compared to a commercial gym?
Yeah.
At a commercial gym, I would be confident to rep out 4 plates for 5.
Yeah.
But then that just tells me like, okay, well, don't do that, do this. Because this feels closer to, funny though, I can strict press on a log more than I can incline bench here. I can strict press 180. I did that very recently on a log. And what was that? That was about 180.
Yeah.
So maybe it's about the same. Yeah, maybe it's about the same.
I think I'd definitely be able to incline more than I could strict log.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't get the like sinking triceps into lats and like the actual technical aspects of benching a barbell.
I think that's why like I'm getting caught out by this bench a bit because by the time I get to there, I'm like my upper arm is like actually touching it.
Yeah. Actually, I think that's what sent me on the last one. Was my arm hit it a bit.
Yeah.
I sent it forward. I guess we could always just stop an inch off our chest, eh? All right.
Go on, Mitch.
3, 2, 1.
Let's go. Nice. Easy. Good.
Oh, amazing. Legend. Thanks, Jace. They get so many of the same people on the live stream.
Yeah.
It's so nice. And you ever watch any of the smaller strongman YouTube channels?
Yeah, some of them. Who is it? The English lad called Toby.
Toby Live. He's on here all the time as well.
He does mainly his like reviews and prediction ones.
Yeah.
He's like a proper presenter though.
Yeah.
Do you know what he's doing? It's like such like it's like he's sat down and like cut it and everything.
He's a Law's client as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And then Jace Loves Strength. He's got a YouTube channel as well.
All right.
He'll do the same type of stuff.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, it's great. What do you want for the last one? Do you want the 15s back on? Or do you want to just chill out?
No, I'll chill.
Might as well. Yeah.
Might as well. I learned to quit whilst on my head.
Yeah, the hard way. Yeah.
We have a superhero from Alex. What do you need for max reps compared to weight?
They get my opinions all the time. Fire away.
What max
Speaking
weight
for max reps versus max weight.
How would I pick for max reps? It depends. I think it depends on how heavy the reps are as well. And I think another thing that I consider for max reps is like where it lands in the competition as well.
Yeah.
So, for example, at Britain's, we had a deadlift ladder, which, although it looks like a bit more of a rep comp, I'd probably prefer peaking like maximal strength for that.
Yeah.
But then we had the steeple before. So blending that into training, it's like I'd always run before I deadlifted. Yeah. So the kind of, I mean, not that it mattered, because I was in an ambulance. But yeah, I think I'd definitely try and hit more total volume on deadlifts if I was peaking for reps in comparison if you're peaking for max. I think a bit more like you are now, obviously for the Arnold coming up, it's a lot of like singles, doubles, heavy. Yeah. Like obviously you want to gear your training towards if you're doing reps. Have a realistic expectation for what reps you're going to be able to manage on that loading comp, and then try and stay as reasonably close to that as you can.
Yeah, for sure. I think good point there is definitely figure out how many reps you think you're going to be able to do. And if you can do anything less than 5, peaking for reps and max is the same thing. But if you're talking 8 to 12, then reasonable approach would be go in that 8 to 12 rep range with a weight that's comfortable, 7 out of 10, and slowly inch that towards the working weight. What I wouldn't suggest to do is say you could do the comp weight for like 4 and you want to do it for 10. I wouldn't suggest doing it for 4 and the next week do 5, next week do 6, 7. That's the recipe to, excuse me, to completely burn you out. So I would say go in that rep range that you're hoping for and then bump the weight up as you go through the weeks.
I think a few of my clients who are like getting ready for a comp where they can obviously rep the weight with a lot of comfort, you know, I mean, they're going like 10 plus.
Yeah.
I like to throw in at least maybe on a bit of a taper week when you're coming off volume, you can kind of like touch comp weight at like an RP 8 or 9. So there's not a set parameter of actual reps achieved in the set. You kind of go off feel. And then I think if it's something like that, there's a lot of confidence associated with kind of like feeling it before.
Sure.
So yeah.
Right. All right, last one here. Okay, come on. Nice. Oh, beautiful. Hold on.
You've done 3 sets, haven't you?
Yeah, all good. We'll strip it and then we'll move the hooks to the outside.
Cool.
So this next one's from Brian. Have you taken Luca for protein yet?
Taking them out for poutine?
Yeah.
For what?
Poutine.
Oh,
We've got, I'm taking Luke for a full Canadian strongman day of eating on Friday. Canadian strongman poutine is on the agenda for sure, which is a surprise that he's yet to know. Do you know what poutine is?
I have no idea.
Guess.
Poutine.
Yeah. The way you said it is. Go in. Where are numbers? Oh,
This one.
one down.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to start with, I guess. I'll be honest.
So traditional poutine, which is really weird you haven't heard of it. I would assume most people know about it.
I haven't heard of many things.
Traditional poutine is fries, cheese curds, and gravy. It's
Right.
like a very famous Canadian thing.
Right, okay.
And then there's places where they'll put like meat on it or I don't know.
Like loaded poutine with like onions and cheese and like.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah, they'll put like multiple different types of cheese.
So it's just chips and then just stuff thrown on top of it, basically.
Yeah, but always gravy, always cheese curds.
Right, okay.
It's,
I mean,
if you
it
went-
sounds very nice.
If you went to any sort of club or bar, nightlife, you like that's just what you do after. You just go get poutine.
Yeah.
Because it gets dirty fast. Like honestly, forgive me for whoever Canadian is on the stream. I'm not a big fan of like normal poutine because it just gets to be a sloppy mess.
Right.
But if you're a bit on it, then you don't really care.
Yeah. That'd probably be the equivalent of like our kebab shops. After a night out, you just...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because you're not going to feel bad enough in the morning. Now some standing incline bench.
That's right.
So this next one's from Pridium. Did y'all see Lucas Hatton's 251 split jerk?
I did. It's so strong. Yeah, really good. His technique with that is phenomenal. But little comments on that. You saw it, yeah?
Yeah.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
He did 251 because Evan did 250. So, as a general guideline, if you're trying to train for a comp, like there are times to like max out and test it and whatever, definitely. But when I see that, I'm sort of like, I hope he's not getting too hung up in the social media game of prepping for a show. Because as much as it might seem like it sometimes when I do something because someone does something else, is literally never the case. You know, I honestly, maybe we'll post something more coincidentally, but Little secret for everyone, I don't even post on my own social media. That's Alicia. So any problems you have with me, take it up with her. And you don't follow any of the other strongmen, right?
Personally?
Yeah. And like you wouldn't look at what they've done for when you post my stuff, right? No. Like it's literally 100% coincidence whenever something weird happens.
Next one is super slack. About a sandbag that now it's 3/4 full of sand and not heavy enough. What do strongmen use to fill them and make them heavy and no mess?
If it's 3/4 full of sand and not heavy enough, I'm going to make the suggestion to make it 100% full of sand. Otherwise, we do use lead shot. So these here, this is a bag of lead shot. This little thing is 25 pounds. Like it's really awkward. The balls are really, really hard. But that's how you fill like rogue dumbbells and stuff. So that would be the go. But just fill it up the whole way. It makes way more sense. And then when you buy them, they're like rated to be a certain weight. So say you bought a 100-kilo sandbag and you want it to be 120. Well, you could put lead shot in it to make it 120, but then if you have a 120 bag in comp, you're going to be thrown off by how awkward and wide it is. So I would suggest just buy the bag that's indicated. And then I just use, on my sandbags at the gym, I just use like play sand. I don't know if you use anything different.
No. I quite like the sandbags, you know, when they like fill them to like completely full with like the rubber pellets.
That's
so they're not like slack. Yeah.
That's probably the only difference is in our shows, they'll get it to comp weight, but then they'll hammer it full with rubber pellets, which weigh nothing, just to make sure that the bag is full and hard. Because the worst thing is when you try to pick up a bag, it sort of like flops in your hands. And it's all sloppy. It's like picking up a dead body, allegedly.
That's why I'm here for a week. I'm just gonna disappear on Friday. That'll be it.
All right, 3 easy. Thanks, man. You've got a pretty good lean back yourself, don't you?
Yeah. It's got to squeeze your glutes, haven't you? And bend your spine. I nearly pass out whenever I do any sort of like over presso standing strict. Log, good. Anything, yeah.
This could be a good live stream.
It could be, yeah.
So this is one from Thomas Fisher. I'm a father of 4 young kids with a mentally demanding job. I am having a hard time following the program due to my inconsistent recoverability. How should I be using auto-regulation to compensate?
Great question. Very informed questions today. I like it. Well, just a commentary on like busy life and kids and stuff. I totally get it. I feel you. Demanding job, I get it. And you also have to provide for your family. So like all of the advice of like, make sure you make time for the gym and stuff is sort of falling on deaf ears. I understand. But the way that I think of it is if you spend time away from your kids to train, it might be hard because in the moment you always want to be there for them, but on a chronic basis, you will become someone that they respect more because you're someone who's dedicated to something, so long as you still spend some time with them and you're still there for your family and whatnot. But I see it as a net positive if you're able to take that time away to be able to be consistent, to set that example, et cetera. So in terms of committing time to the gym, that would be a major. And then with recovery, you know, I talk about sleep, life stress, and nutrition. Nutrition is probably the only one that you have ultimate control over when you have young kids. So I would say get your nutrition as good as it could possibly be. And that advice is not overcomplicated. you know when you're eating something bad for you and when you're eating something good for you. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. So do your best to limit those inflammatory foods. And then for your sessions, if you can keep them shorter in duration and higher in intensity, then great. Let's say you want to bodybuild and you just like want to look good. You can do one maximum set to failure chest press to 15. You do like one drop set, cool, you're done. Move on, you do your pull exercise, do rows, drop set to failure, you're done. And that's like your chest and back workout. Get home, back to the kids. That way you're not demanding too much, because we have to make sure that amount that you're training has to match the amount that you're able to recover. And that's the stuff that we would manage in our jobs all the time as well.
Go on, Mitch.
Nice. Ooh, that felt better than
Strong that, yeah.
You know, I think I've gone so far in prep that like I haven't been doing incline, and we've just thrown that stuff in.
Oh, have you?
I feel like I'm strong up above my head, but incline feels awkward because I haven't prepped into it.
Yeah. I suppose it's a bit weird, though, isn't it? Because the lift that you'd probably be most likely to offset yourself on into an incline position would probably be a log.
Yeah.
And then obviously you don't have. Oh, you do have log in this comp, don't you?
Yeah,
but in a log, you're never going to be in this amount of shoulder flexion, are you?
Never. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So,
which we didn't film it, so you're gonna have to vouch for me. That overhead medley, I'm on fire.
Yeah. I find it very difficult to see, because I think the event suits you as well, where you've got to do things that are going to tire you before doing the hardest thing. I mean, it was very, very good.
I had a phenomenal session on the overhead medley. It's sort of structured in a really nice way for training, but a bad way for filming, where I got stones over there and I got to run over and then do a dumbbell, do the log. So you guys won't see it, but hopefully you'll see it in comp.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it, mate. Come on. Good. Attaboy. Good. One more. Go. Nice.
Oh, I nearly went then.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay, let's not. You won't go heavier than that then.
No. Which is weird, because I'm actually pretty decent at the strip stuff. Oh, smoked after that incline though. My pecs are dead. Oh.
We have a question for you, Luke, from Max. Is Europe your next comp, and are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, Europe's is the next one for me. I am looking forward to it, not on some sort of like, I don't feel like I need to necessarily vindicate the Britain's performance. I think that's something I've learned is like not wise to do. Like, I can account the things that went wrong, and so long as I put them right, I should be in the best shape of my life. But yeah, it's one of them funny things like with strongman. Obviously, I think a lot of people underestimate how difficult it is to be as because obviously I'm consistent with sleep, food, and training. Like, I'll never not train for a competition, but there are just some things that sometimes can't be accounted for. But I think when we see people like you not miss a podium since like 2022, it kind of like it like blurs the lines of like that's like just not, it's just not normal, is it?
Yeah.
Like, it's really not normal, because anything can happen. Like, if you came into a comp with like a pull or a little tear or something, like that could be that over. Obviously, I'm not hoping that happens, but like, that's just the part of the sport, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, your body needs to play ball with you as well, and as much as you force it, sometimes it doesn't, does it? So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'll be in good shape for Europe, and I think if I'm in good shape, I can win. I feel like that's a real possibility, which I think I need to, because obviously I want to get to Worlds, get back in the final, and I think I'd like to try breaking to the top 5 this year at Worlds. If I could come 5th, I'd be very happy.
And we were talking about Europe's as well, because if we're talking top seeds at World's Strongest Man, how things have shaken out right now, it's likely open to the guy who wins Europe's. given that they're not top 5 or
yeah.
top 4 seed already.
Yeah.
Because we said the top 4 are very likely me, Tom, Evan, Trey. 5th would definitely be the winner of Europe's.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that would make sense.
Yeah.
How do you have that within you, Luke, to like not get so frustrated that you're turned off of competing when stuff doesn't go right?
I think just because I love training. It's hard because I've always competed, so I always kind of attach a goal to training.
Yeah.
So, yeah, obviously, Britain's is one of them where, like, it didn't go anywhere because I thought, like, I definitely could win. That was, like, one of my realistic expectations going in.
Sure.
But I didn't see myself placing any lower than, like, podium, for example.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, I'm quite a way off that. However, it's kind of like, well, relatively speaking, for the last 3 years, I'm here training now.
Yeah.
And I don't have to have a surgery that I need to pay like 20 grand for. So it's like not too bad. You know what I mean?
I guess for a lot of people, strongman is like this potential revenue generator. And for you, it's like a expense.
Oh, it's terrible for business. Yeah.
Surgical
expense.
Good question. 225 and 50, 275 and 30, 305.
Call him Mitch. Nice. You seem to find that line like so well, even when it starts getting not necessarily harder, but you know when you start like incorporating a bit of that lean, like it stays in exactly the same place, like,
and it's totally intuitive. That's one of the like many lucky things. It's not like I've trained it or thought about it. It just stays there.
Because if I was to compensate with a bit of leaning, I'd probably end up like becoming. I'd go behind midline, and then I'd start to fall. Yeah. Whereas you seem to do quite a good job of like just manipulating yourself around whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, it's like the poor man's Olympic lifting. Just fold your spine in half.
It's one of the really irritating things with my overhead that annoys me though, is that for a lot of the time I don't really feel limited by strength. I feel limited by remaining conscious.
Right, okay.
Because you know when we did World Log Lift Championship, it was like I got every rep on my second go.
Yes.
Because the first one I was like so dizzy.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, I was like nearly,
Right, okay.
yeah, like every time it was on my chest. And it's weird because it's not like I haven't taken a breath. I took a breath like a second ago.
Yeah,
like, why am I nearly passing out?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then even with this, it's like, I get like the first rep, I'm like, oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
Probably do 10 on this. And then the second, I'm like, oh no. And then the third, I'm just like, don't damage the gym.
I'll just do what you can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
No pride in strict pressing 100. Come on. Good man. Nice, Luke. Hold on.
Very dizzy. I'm convulsing.
L4, L5 on the power building program under CT supervision. How does that flare on Sunday on hinge day? Should I rest in the strong?
Yes, absolutely. Listen to your physical therapist for sure. Yeah, it's annoying. These things happen. Should I? What would that be? That'd be 70 on top of 275. Yeah, mid threes. We'll see how it goes.
Right.
But yeah, look, with herniated discs, it's just like every other injury. It's going to happen and it's going to heal. If you took any strongman's spine, we would be herniated probably top to bottom. And it just sort of like is what it is. But the herniation will heal. You will get back to 100%. The key is that you got to make sure that you don't do something to put yourself 2 steps backwards. I made that big mistake, and I probably should have called Luke. I tore my bicep at the Invitational. And my general attitude with injuries is keep it moving, keep lots of blood flow going. And then sometimes I'll get a little bit excited with myself and I'll like go like, oh, well, it doesn't hurt that much. So like, I'll just keep doing it a bit. So I was doing like bicep curls to try to make it feel better and heal. But I'd work to like a 6 to 7 out of 10 pain. And it would just be like steady, 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 set back. And then Arnold prep was coming around the corner and I was like, okay, let me see if I can do a 120 stone with chalk only. And then I was literally at the stone. And like, honestly, I'm the most consistent person in strongman, but it's not because I make consistently the best decisions. I just get lucky sometimes. I pull out the 120 stone and I go over to get chalk. And I'm like, so like, you're like one of the strongest dudes in the world. You don't need chalk for a 120 stone. And so now I'm like, no chalk, slippery stone, no tacky. And I do it. But like that then pinched my bicep and I was another week of like just pain and annoyance. So even if you can do something, it doesn't mean you have to do something. I should tattoo that literally backwards on my forehead. So I can look at it every training session in the mirror. Does that ever happen to you? You're probably much smarter now because you've been forced to be.
Yeah.
But do you ever just like, you're in a log session and say like 170 by 3 is planned, 2 by 3. And you do the first one at 170. And do you ever go like, maybe I could do 190 for 3? You just slap some weight on? Or are you pretty good sticking?
No, I'm pretty good to be fair. But I think I've been, I'd have always been good because I think that's the thing coming over from powerlifting. You're so like, you think that the program, like as I've got into strongman, it's made me realize how unnecessarily specific everything is in powerlifting.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like I'd literally go in the gym. I'd go in the gym and I'd like have to lift. There'd be a Rogue power bar, Titex power bar, completely fine other power bar, and I'm like, I can only lift on the Alico.
Yeah.
And then when I was close to a comp, there could be a full set of like Rogue calibrated plates here, and I could be deadlifting there, and I'd walk over to the other end of the gym to get Alico plates because it needs to be Alico and Alico.
Oh wow!
And then now I'm just like, I just don't care.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, right. That's so funny.
Yeah, like if
you would have been the person who would walk, like call up a gym if you're traveling, go like, hey, what kind of calibrated plates do you have?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
The worst nightmare.
Yeah, literally. And then it's like funny now because it'd be like if I drove like say an hour to the gym, and I like forgot my knee sleeves, I'd like drive home and get them.
Oh really?
And then like come back.
Right.
Whereas now I've like left my gym bag in the other room.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh well, Mitch doesn't really use that much support stuff, and so here I am.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just like
yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think you kind of like value just the training session. Like not one training session is like the be all end all.
Yeah. It certainly almost stems from the variety in strongman.
Yeah.
Where if we were powerlifting, one of these would have been an event, and we would have had to think like, okay, well, what does that mean for where I'm at? Like, well, that means nothing for where you're at, and this means nothing for where you're at. So it really, I don't feel like you don't tie the same weights every session.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
Go on, Mitch.
24 to 61, 125, 30. It's like a 160, 160 kilos. I should be right for 3.
Let's go, Mitch.
That feels good.
Nice. Come on. Yes.
Triceps are fried from that.
Yeah, it's strong that way.
Do you know what's really funny with my overhead pressing? You'll notice anytime anything gets hard, but it's in a very particular way that I've never trained. I will get it to here, normal every time. And then however much I need to bend back to help my triceps get through, I just go under.
Right, okay.
And I'll hold it in place, and then it'll come through.
Yeah.
Yeah, always.
Could you like feel yourself doing that? Like, you'd be like, right, even though I'm going here, like, that's where it is. Like, you kind of know. Like, because you can see it, obviously.
Yeah. Actually, I can't see shit. No, I go black.
Right, okay.
I know I'm doing it, but since I don't have to try to do it, I'm more concerned about, like, the bar staying on path. So I'm mostly thinking about, like, not letting it drift in front of me.
Yeah.
Because that's really, overhead pressing, you'd be hard-pressed to find a time where I failed an overhead press that wasn't because I pushed it in front of me. nearly 100% of the time.
Yeah.
In fact, the only one I can think of was World Tour Finals 2023, 210 log. I tried to clean it 3 times. It kept slipping. I finally cleaned it. I go to press it and I do that thing. It's held static in the air. And at that point, I'm sort of like, I got it. And there's a picture where I'm literally like here. And that's the only time I can think, actually, pure strength, this was never going to happen.
Yeah. It's funny though, you know, coming through from that position, it's like I feel like it's some sort of like weird, like ab crunch, press out. You kind of got to like.
Yeah, but I don't know what it is because it's not hard.
No.
It's not hard at all. Like maybe because it's on the same momentum as the lockout, so you're in the same spot. But I've never once felt like I actually had to exert effort to like push myself through.
No, right, okay.
Yeah. But I don't know if you've noticed, but I get to that perfect head through lockout every time.
Yeah, you do. It's so good that they've started creating rules for it. What is it? Yeah, ears need to be somewhere or something.
Do your set and I'll talk you through the...
Shane would be good at that, wouldn't he? Flowers.
Yeah.
Ears, he'd just be here.
Him and Tom, unreal shoulder mobility. Come on, go. Good man. A little bit of recovery, you got better as you went, eh?
Yeah.
You right? Lights are on?
Yeah, I'm good. I think that's another thing that was kind of like, I don't know if it's possibly the higher estrogen from Britain's that is like affecting my blood pressure as well.
Yeah.
Because all of my hemoglobin, red blood count came back like very, very good.
Okay.
Which I thought maybe it was like that my blood was really thick. Yeah. But it wasn't. It was like perfect. So yeah.
So the rules. So when I came into strongman, when we were in rules for overheads, you would be told like you need to have it locked out, and you need to be looking at the judge. Cool. That's all that was ever said. Comps go by, on. Leave one plate on, and then it was you need to be standing generally upright and looking at the judge. Cool, no problem. And then it was your head needs to be through, just like through, and then you'll get the down call. Okay, no problem. And then your head needs to be through, and we're going to hold you up there, and then you'll get the down call. Okay, no problem. That was a big one at Arnolds 2024. Then at Strongest Man on Earth, it was now a side judge introduced to make sure that bicep was in line with ears as you were locked out. And the funny thing is, they add these rules on, partially for me, but partially because other guys will start doing similar things. But it seems to change no result at all.
No.
Like, if you're here or you're here, makes no difference at all.
No.
The only rule that could be implemented that would stuff me up is if it was like your hips couldn't be in front of your shoulders. Like if your hips and shoulders, but now we're into like powerlifting.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Because even the rule of your head needs to be your ears, even with the biceps. Take this position and then just go like, like, okay, awesome.
I think that's the thing as well, like strongman judging as it is with its simplicity is still sometimes not the most consistent thing ever.
No.
So can you imagine you added all of these extra things that you need to do, how much more inconsistent it would actually be?
Do you know what Maggie suggested? This was the most absurd suggestion. I'm sure Monica's watching. Let him know. This is the most insane suggestion of all time. His suggestion was, because you know how it's in the moment hard, where like maybe you've locked out, maybe you haven't, they start giving the down, like his suggestion was athlete locks it out as best they can, puts it down, and you find out after if you got the rep. Because then they can think about it for a second.
But then what would that look like? You know, like when you get the down command?
So it would be like powerlifting, exactly like powerlifting. You're up, bang, down, and it'd be like, yeah.
Right, okay.
It'd be horrible. All right, Lisa, let's catch up on some of the chats. Just warming up. Fire away.
For Mitch,
eyes hurt?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I've like popped blood vessels and stuff, and sometimes you can feel some pressure.
Yeah.
Can you get back here? That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably hard after incline, but I can
fair enough.
probably.
But no, definitely haven't hurt. But your eyes have very small blood vessels in them. And say the Valsalva maneuver that all strongmen do, all powerlifters do, where you brace your core and then you lift, and you brace by like really clenching hard. That can cause a lot of pressure in your eyes. And so that's why it's actually contraindicated for people with, say, glaucoma. You're not able to do Valsalva because it'll continue to mess up your eyes. So, yeah, I would go to the eye doctor to just make sure that everything's okay there. Because anytime something is painful, there is one camp who says ignore it and train through pain and be tough. And there's the other camp that says stop doing anything that's painful. And I'm like firmly halfway in between, where it's like don't ignore it, but also don't succumb to every little feeling of not perfect. Out of 365 days a year, how many days would you train if you had to be totally pain-free going into every session?
Probably like once a week.
Yeah, like 50 sessions a year.
Yeah.
I'd be about the same.
So this next one, who does Luke consider the strongest of all time?
Strongest in terms of best strongman, I think Mitch. I said that and I got absolutely roasted on a podcast.
Yeah, do you back it?
Yeah. Huh?
You back it still?
Yeah. Like strong, because I think that's the thing. Like a lot of people confuse. Like I wasn't saying like the greatest strongman of all time in terms of like titles and things like that, but in terms of like if you took every strongman at the peak from each kind of like generation.
And you're also saying strong by definition of strongman.
Of course, yeah.
Which like I'm not as strong as Eddie in the definition of coming to the gym and incline press or just something freaky stuff.
I think that in terms of like actual ability, it's kind of like, well, if you actually took every single, like say there was like a 40 event strongman event, I think you'd win out of anyone in any era because 4 in his prime had his grip.
Yeah.
Z's deadlift, best deadlift was what, like 440?
Yeah, it wasn't huge.
Yeah.
And Z's grip wasn't great.
Yeah.
Both of those guys on a yoke would move a little bit slower than like a Pujanowski or me.
And then like loading, like I know Brian does well on like heavier loading, but if it was like a steeplechase medley like it was at Worlds this year, like
yeah, for sure. But the funny, I just really don't care about that distinction. Yeah, like the best of all time, the blah, blah, blah. I find it the same reason that like I won't allow you to answer the question of if you weren't hurt, would you have won? Just like these hypotheticals that can never be answered. So why bother?
And I think that's why they get so much traction because there's so much like talk around them. Like as someone who's probably, I mean, I'm like a big fan of strongman. I know you know this, don't you?
Yeah.
Like I can be like, oh, Mitch, when you did this thing in like 2022 and you played there, you're like, what the hell is wrong? And then I did the same with Biss when we were like backstage at Brits, who was like, I was like, oh yeah, because like your deadlift, blah, blah, Wembley, you pulled 440, didn't you? And he couldn't even remember if he pulled 440. And I was like, oh, but I know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But people like calling me an idiot, and it's like, well, I've done some stuff in the sport. I understand. I understand what it takes to be good at the sport. And I'm also like, it's not like I'm biased, like because like I wouldn't say the greatest strongman of all time in terms of like accolade and achievement, but
when you had said that, we'd only met a couple of times.
Yeah.
It's not like we're best mates, and that's what you're saying.
It's just my opinion, isn't it? Yeah. Which, I mean, take that for what it's worth.
It's so good, though. Because I guarantee that if you had an actual conversation with anyone who's giving you proper shit, because I think it would be dumb to say under the pretense of 40 event strongman show over 6 weeks, best of all time, all of us, it's absurd to say that I would have no chance at all. Right. So I think any rational person would be like, I don't agree, but I see where you're coming from.
What was your lowest event placing last year on an event
that I had to try?
Yeah.
I think 4th. Strongest man on earth, I came 4th in something.
Right.
But I came top 3 in, I believe it was 48 or 49 events that I had to actually do.
Yeah. So like, how do you beat that if you are getting like a
See how these feel. Oh, fucking hell. Don't do something dumb if you don't want to. Oh boy. Good. Nice. There you go. Nice. This exercise teaches you a lot about your scapula, hey? Because the first rep is always weird and awkward.
Yeah, it's horrible,
Once it's in the right
isn't it?
spot,
Yeah.
and the second one, it's good. What would your assessment be as someone who's like a proper like fan of the sport? What would your assessment be on the strength of this era relative to previous eras?
I think it's like one of these things with this era where I think because people tend to just look at numbers as like the only measurable thing.
Yeah.
It's like a lot easier to compare an era where people were max doing the same max squat for reps or the max deadlift for reps. But then in this era, there's a lot more. Like, I think this is the best, like, this is the strongest and most athletic era of strongman ever.
Right.
Because you've got you and like Tom on loading medleys as well.
Yeah.
It's like absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
But then you could probably, you know, who's to say in the suit this year you don't pull 505?
Sure.
I think it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, how can you have a guy who can pull more than anyone's ever pulled and beat everyone who's ever been on a loading medley?
Yeah.
And like say, oh, well, they're not strong enough. The era of Z, Brian, Eddie and all that was stronger. It's like, well, look at like Trey on the Austrian Oak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's probably the most Z-like in terms of performance on that, isn't he? Like,
I suppose on top of the fact that when Z pressed it 4 times, it's not like other dudes pressed it 3 and 2. Like he obliterated.
it was
everyone.
like, it's like Mateus on the stone.
Yeah.
Like that was Z on the log, wasn't it?
Yeah. All right, so we're going to stop talking and we're going to cater to the chats. What do we got?
Just shut up.
Well, now.
Yeah.
So the next one is from David. Mitchell, what's your max overhead straight press?
On a barbell? Yeah. My best barbell, actually it'd be very similar. Best barbell and log would both be about 400 pounds, just over 180 kilos. But honestly, I don't find improving my strict press helps a huge amounts with my push press because I get so much out of my legs and bending back that if I really improved my strict press, it might help with a bit of a margin of error. But I think if I executed perfectly on a push press, my strict press doesn't matter because I can launch very heavy loads close to lockout and I can lean back enough to drive through that little lockout portion. The only thing that might be useful statically for me to improve is if I did like 6-inch lockouts or 8-inch lockouts, just worked on that end range tricep strength. But yeah, answer is just over 180 kilos, about 400 pounds. What would yours be, Luke?
I've done a 190 strict log.
Yeah, crazy.
But then I think the thing for me is that whenever I tend to do max logs push press, it's like I can replicate the position of a strict log much better than I can. Like I'd say my push press log is limited by technique under maximal load.
Sure.
Whereas in a strict press, plus my strict press log, it's like a bit weird because obviously there's some amount of carryover to being strong at pressing, but mechanically in terms of like my torso position and everything, they're so different that it's like, well, I can probably strict log the same as I push press log because they're two completely different lifts almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good thing. I feel like it's something that if I could eventually get right, like I'd be like, I mean, my overhead is decent anyway, but I could be like pretty good at it because like on all like the static stuff, like incline and I am pretty good as well.
There you go. Good. Nice.
I'm shaking again.
So we have a super chat here from Scott. Question to you both. Europe's top 3 predictions.
Oh.
You can be honest.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think based on evidence, I would say Luke Richardson is the favorite on paper, but also the most variable. Where if things go right, I don't think anyone could beat him.
Yeah.
But things go wrong more often than other people. I would say, like with the form that Luke Stoltman was on at Britain's, he looked awesome.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
I don't see him off the podium.
I think they're good events for Luke as well.
Yeah.
Shield carries, he's like good.
Are you allowed to talk about the events?
Yeah, they've released them.
Oh, sick. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we should talk about. Well, we got to answer chats, but because those would be probably the World's Heats events. Yeah. So both Lukes, and then I'm not incredibly familiar with the rest of the lineup, but it feels like the third spot is much more open.
I think Pablo Cordiac with these events is going to be.
Talk through the events. I'm not familiar.
So it's anchor chain drag.
Okay. Yeah.
The big axle wheels for reps.
Sure.
Shield carry.
Yeah.
Overhead press medley, and Atlas stones. Pablo Cordiac on Shield at Worlds would have beaten Tom had he have not taken a 50 centimeter step. Do you know what I mean? Because he looked pretty comfy even at like kind of 70 meters.
He would have won it for sure.
No
doubt.
I think Pablo's been working a lot on his static as well. Obviously, then there's Mateus as well. Like I'd say Mateus is similar to me in the sense that it could be absolutely ridiculous like he is, or he could. And I'm speaking for myself here, not Mateus. Or he could kind of blow up in, I kind of like blow up, or I do really well.
The difference is, I find when Mateus gets to a show, he's there.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's a competitor.
Yeah. And I think I don't know of anything going wrong in a show for him. Knock on wood.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So I think if he makes it there, that's a pretty good third place bet.
Yeah, of course.
But Achilles tear, is that going to affect his mobility a lot?
There's not really anything in there that would be super alarming to me, though.
Drag.
For Achilles, would that be?
Just running back and forth. Although I guess you're dragging, you're carrying, that'd be a little bit slow.
Yeah. The anchor's only like 100 kilo as well. Nice.
It's the same one they've done before, yeah?
Yeah. So you carry the anchor down and attach it to the chain.
Yeah.
Pick it up.
Mateus should be a good bet. I'm really interested to see why Pablo.
Yeah.
What on earth? It's gone through hell.
All right, that's the thing. Like for me, it's like, there's like tendon injuries, and then there's like what happened to like Big Pablo.
Do you even know what happened?
Well, he has a scar from here to there.
I know, he was obviously open.
Which has got to be some sort of like vital organ damage, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then his entire knee is just like, I think his leg was literally just like absolutely shattered to smithereens.
If he is even remotely competitive, that would be one of the coolest comebacks ever.
Yeah.
I'm talking like even sixth place. That's so cool.
Which is like, I think the thing with Pablo is even when we were like competing in powerlifting and stuff, like he was like, Pablo was stronger than me.
Yeah.
But I beat him more times than he beat me.
Just in being tactical?
Yeah, like attempt selection and stuff. I think it's like the Ukrainian, especially like the Ukrainian powerlifting style, I think because they were like a lot more competitive in the equipped lifting. It was always like open really heavy, take really small jumps. You're not really planning for your last lift. You're like taking what you can at the time.
Yeah.
And I think he competed kind of the same way in strongman. You could see that he was an absolute brute, but he was just like ferocious, wasn't he? Like, not much thought. He's just kind of doing it.
Nice. Good. Nice. Good man. Well done. Beautiful.
Do you know when we had that squat bar on our backs yesterday? It's like destroyed. I'm like,
we're filming a great video this afternoon. We're gonna set a new. It'll be the first ever, probably.
Tandem
Powerlifting world record. And by that, I mean, we have to be on the same bar, lifting at the same time. So, you know.
And it will be a world record by the virtue that no one else has ever done it.
Yeah, exactly.
Automatic world record.
But we'll definitely set a new powerlifting world record, because I'll have to review the rule book and see if there's actually anything about how many arms and legs are allowed. We got it set up yesterday. It should be good fun.
What are Luke's YouTube plans? Who's going to follow you before he gets out?
We're talking about this.
Yeah. It's something that I think, especially after spending some time with Mitch, I think by nature, I think it'd be fair to say I'm a lot lazier than Mitch. Not when it comes to training, but just like, I don't know, I don't mind being on camera and stuff, but it's not incredibly natural for me to like pull a camera out and start filming myself as someone who can't yet like accommodate paying someone to do it for me. I think it'd feel less cringy for me if someone was there with a camera kind of filming me instead of me doing it myself. Not that it bothers me too much, but I think for Britons it was more, in the last few weeks of prep, I felt so terrible that I was dragging myself to the gym. And it was like, I was already dragging myself to the gym to try and train for the comp. And it was like, I've got to get my iPhone out and pretend to be important as well. It was a bit, yeah, but who knows? Maybe this has inspired another comeback. Maybe that's it.
You really have to want to do it. That's the hard bit.
Yeah, the comeback that no one really cares about.
There are hundreds of people who are wondering if you're coming back. All right, what do we got? We got tricep extension, overhead, and face pull. Let's start the clock, and we'll do them as a little circuit with rest times. Keep hitting us with them, Leash. I'm sure we're falling behind.
Okay, so another one for Luke here. Is Arnold Classic and Strongest Man on Earth part of your goal, or only World's Strongest Man Giants not?
No, I think at least in the next few years, I'd really like to do the Arnolds and Rogue if I got an invite to those, because they seem, obviously they're one of the big majors, but they seem okay for me to do from like a potentially getting hurt perspective. Like, because I think when you see someone like Mitch, Tom, these guys at Strongest Man on Earth, and they literally can't do an event, or they can do it, but they can't finish it. Yeah. It's like, well, like obviously it's an absolutely ridiculous demand over the 2 days of competing. But then in order to be, one, prepared and two, resilient enough to do it, you also need to train for that event as well. So for me, it's like, well, I'd like to get at least a couple of years under my belt of not getting hurt and have some sort of like base level resilience before I even think about doing a show where I've got to do a max Hummer-Thai deadlift, a max squat, a max log, max axle, max arm over arm, max yoke, max stone. Just
max. Look, I'm the reigning champ, and I'm like the worst advocate for other people to do it, because I'm like, that is deadly. Which honestly, it's a funny one, because I know if I talk to Brian about it, and I'm like, yeah, I'd actually tell Luke not to do it because it's so insanely hard and injury risk and so heavy. He would totally be of split mind, because I know he would be like, I want Luke to do it, but I love that he's not doing it for that reason. You know,
yeah,
like
because it'd be like
kill
this.
You.
I feel like for Brian, it'd be some sort of badge of honor where it's like, guys are scared to do my show.
Yeah.
And I just be like, Brian, you're right. I am.
All right.
But it's funny because like a few years ago, I'd have done it like no problem, because you're kind of ignorant to it. But like I say, I'd like to get at least a few years under my belt before something else goes catastrophically wrong.
Yeah, of course. You know what I mean? Of course. All right, we'll do tricep push down. We'll do overhead extension, and then face pull. We'll just do on that guy as well. All sets of 10, and we're doing 3 rounds. Make it like literally like a 6 or 7 out of 10, just moving.
What are we doing on this one? I'll just let you go first.
Tricep extensions.
Right, okay.
Like just regular by your side.
This one is from Tej. potential, are you still going for the 505 deadlift? And how many kilos are you attempting on reps?
Yeah, I will go for the 505. We just need a reason, not a reason. We need a setup to promote it, because difficulty is that Thor doesn't want to do Giants Live stuff, and they do the World Deadlift Champs. And so finding another promoter who wants to run the event and put it on, pay for it all, and a promoter who is reliable and trustworthy, like, it's a difficult combination just to pull out of thin air. So if I make it to Giants Live without something else being in place, I will do my best to do it there. But after Worlds, I'll just look at what the rest of my year looks like, because you can only be really strong a few times a year. And I'm really strong right now, which is great. I'll be really strong for Strongest Man on Earth. And those will be like my two strength peaks. And then Worlds and Rogue Invitational, so like be strong and have a good level of muscular endurance. That's a little bit different. And if I can fit a really good deadlift prep into that, I'll try to do it at the Giants Live World Deadlift Champs. If not, it's because we'll have something else lined up in between. Let's start again at 5 minutes, minute 40.
Okay, so this one's from Jake. Both of you, if you could be any animal, which animal would you be and why?
Let's choose one from the aquarium.
From the aquarium.
Yeah, we went to the aquarium the other day. I would be... I'm just going to ignore the vulnerability bit of like just being an animal that's, or else you just choose like great white shark.
Yeah, obviously, yeah.
So ignore like getting eaten and stuff. I'd be a turtle. They seem like really happy and they just eat like the plants on the ground. So like, whenever you're hungry, there's just snacks right there. You just like, you've got this big shell so it protects you. So if like the current gets a bit much, you just, I don't know, maybe they go on the ground and shell up or something. I don't know what turtles do. Mm-hmm. But then you'd also have like the cutest babies of all time, turtle babies, when they like make their way into the water. Turtle's my answer.
I'd be a jellyfish.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Because they've got no brain. And they just kind of just chill. You know
I knew you said, we're looking at the jellyfish. And we're seeing like, they have no brain. They do nothing. They just float around aimlessly all day. And at the exact same time, I'm talking about how horrible that would be, and Luke's talking about how great that would be.
Which probably says a reasonable amount about the internal texture of my mind at some stages. God, I'd love to just not have a frigging brain.
Oh, that's fine.
So this next one's from Alex. Mitch, do you think you would ever go back to powerlifting and attempt to break the total world record?
No, definitely not. It would be really hard for me. Like, I just don't think I'm that guy. Say, if I really committed to and learned bench pressing well and had the technical element to it, a lot of exposure, like, could I press like 270 or so? Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, 270. Could I deadlift 440? Probably. So now we're at what? 670. We're at 710, and then squats. Could I squat 1,000 in reps? I absolutely believe so. I call it 470 in a perfect world. We're at what? 15. I don't know. Someone else can do the math. But around like a 1,500 kilo total. If everything went perfect.
1,500?
No.
Yeah.
Sorry. 1,200 kilo total. 1,200 kilo total if everything went perfect. And I think that's sort of like close. What is the world record?
I am not sure. I think Dan Bell's done high 1100s. I think it's like 1185 maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Something like that, yeah.
So like, look, when I do all that math, I'm like, okay, in the pipe dream perfect world, I set it by 10 kilos. Very rarely does your pipe dream perfect world ever become a reality. The return on doing it is also next to nothing. So no, I wouldn't return. I've done my bit there. Would you return?
No.
You've done it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like going backwards. Give us one more, and then we'll do our last set.
Okay, so this next one is from Jerome. Hey Nick, what training program of yours would you recommend for size and strength? Also, is there a student discount?
Oh, good question. There literally is one called Size and Strength. Yes, that's what I would recommend. There's no student discounts at the moment, but we discounted them on launch to reflect the increased cost of goods over the past 3 years. And so it's literally discounted by that amount from the get-go because I want exercise to be affordable for everyone. And so we used to sell them at $49 US and we discounted them like 25% on sale or on release, just so that they wouldn't add to the growing burden of people's cost to be able to afford their life. It works out that it's like $5 a week to train. I think less, like $3 or $4 a week to train. And it's a program and education. So you learn a bit along the way that hopefully helps you for a lot longer than 12 weeks. But over on movecoaching.com, go check them out. There's also a little survey that you can take based on your goals and what you want to accomplish, and it'll direct you to the right program as well.
Who is the most famous person that either of you have met? And Mitch, would you retire if you won 5 or 20 minutes?
Most famous person that we've ever even just met. Okay. I suppose it's hard because people are famous in different worlds. Like Eddie would be right up there for sure. But I actually don't think I've met anyone really famous, but it was just like a hello handshake. I think I've had really good, meaningful conversations with all of the most famous people that I've met. So that would be like Thor and Eddie. I'm just not a big celebrity guy, to be honest. Like even if I was eating dinner, standing where I am right now, and I saw like Aaron Rodgers or The Rock or whoever, like if they were right there eating dinner, I would not feel inclined in the least to go say hello or ask for a picture or whatever. Because I think it's just way more special to be able to say, like, I got to know them. So, yeah, that's me. You met anyone cool?
No.
No.
Mine would probably be Thor and Eddie as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for the same reasons. Like I wouldn't go and like try and be in the same place as someone. Do you know what I mean? It's only that I've ended up in the same places.
Yeah. I've been offered to meet like loads of famous people and go to like professional sporting events in different capacities, but it's just like, why? You know, if I contrasted going to stay on sideline at a Packers game versus spending 3 days with my family, I'm like, well, it would be cool, but like I'd just rather spend time with my family right now.
It's not that I like wouldn't respect them,
like,
or enjoy meeting them.
respect.
It's just I probably just wouldn't. Yeah, I just wouldn't like just to like go up and get a picture of them. Like that's kind of just not.
Yeah,
who I am.
I'm with you. Yeah. I'm with you. It's because I don't see them different as say CEOs or executives. Well, I'm not going to ask for a picture, but I would love to pick your brain. I'd love to chat. Yeah. I think you got an incredible mind or incredible acting ability or whatever it may be. But that's the session. Anything else to cover?
We have one super here from Jace just saying, get Luke on an OJ and yogurt to wash down that poutine.
Okay. All right. We'll get that in the mix. No problem. Thanks very much for watching, guys. As per usual, lift every be kind. We'll catch you tomorrow. Oh, it takes a minute.